Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you for the invitation to this forum. I know that pronouncing Central European names is a challenge sometimes, so my name is Srnova, for those who want to learn something from the Slavic. I'm here to... I'm sorry, but this thing is not very...
Really?
It looks better now. I'm here on behalf of the coordinator of the Partnership on Urban Mobility, which you might know very well, partnerships within the Pact of Amsterdam. I think it's worth mentioning that the Dutch presidency created this convention among the member states and non-member states of the EU. It's an intergovernmental convention or pact between the states, which establishes 12 partnerships, and one of them being the Partnership on Urban Mobility. Why the partnerships were established? Actually, because the cities had the need to contribute better to policymaking on the EU level, and vice versa. The EU needed more input from the cities to how the policies are being created. So the purpose of the partnership is actually a horizontal and vertical cooperation across the cities, across the member states, across the institutions in the EU, and also with the associations of cities, associations of even businesses and interested stakeholders. As I said, Partnership on Urban Mobility is one of the partnerships. The other partnerships which are even relevant or evenly relevant to mobility is, for example, Partnership on Sustainable Use of Land, Partnership on Air Quality, Partnership on Energy Transition or Digital Transition. That in fact means that there is a number of sectors which are relevant for mobility, and as Mr. Boni already mentioned, it must be borne in mind that mobility is an issue not relating only to transport, infrastructure, or to other sectors like digital solutions or smart solutions. It's much more about mobility as a service for the citizens. And this is how I come to the first outputs of the partnerships. Maybe I should also mention that in our partnership there's 23 members, 5 member states, including the Czech Republic, then Cyprus, Romania, Finland, and Slovenia. There are 7 cities all across the EU, 2 regions, which is a bit unusual because the regions are kind of invited to take part because, of course, mobility is an, is an issue at the regional level as well. There are 4 other stakeholders as well, like Eurocities, CMR, EIB, Polis, EU Cyclist Federation, or YTP. There is the Commission. We have DG Regio, DG Envy, and DG Move. Unfortunately, we don't have DG Digit. So we would like to maybe invite DG Digit to take part in our Partnership on Urban Mobility. And we have also some observers from the national level. From Germany, it is the Federal Ministry of the Environment, Nature, Construction and Nuclear Safety. We have the Dutch Ministry of the Interior and Kingdom Relations, and we have Urbecht. I already mentioned that there should be some outputs to the partnership. The partnership started working at the beginning of January this year under the Maltese presidency, but was endorsed by the governments of the member states during the previous presidency, Slovak presidency. So the partnership is here to provide some outputs. The outputs are so-called orientation paper and action plan. They are the main ones. There are also some others like communication and presentation, public consultation, etc. But these 2 are the most important ones because they should be bringing some ideas on how to implement better policies in the area of urban mobility at the level of cities. There have been already 2 meetings of the partnerships, so there is some work already done. Many ideas, many discussion topics related to what Mr. Boni already mentioned. As I said, mobility is not only about sectoral issues, it's mainly about service for the citizens, and as such it should be handled. So far 4 working groups have been established. These working groups concentrate on governance, on innovative solutions and smart mobility, on public transport for the city, region and multimodality, and on active modes of transport. I don't want to get into detail because I think there are many other speakers who would like to get the floor and get some time to speak. But the very preliminary, let's say, findings show, for example, several quite interesting aspects. Cycling, for example, cycling and walking are not perceived as a serious, fully fledged transport mode equal to other modes. What it means, in fact, it means that in the end of the day, the policies are not established to accommodate or support these modes of transport. There are no indicators for these, and it's quite difficult to find funding and support for the city makers and city decision makers to fund them. Innovation moves quicker than regulation. That's an issue which we all handle and we have to live with. The pace is much quicker on the side of the technology than on the side of the regulation. And we have to work with that and find a solution to how to provide sufficient flexibility, but at the same time provide the well-being for the citizens. There is a need for better alignment of different platforms which deal with urban mobility. Very often business platforms are not interconnected with regulators' platforms, and their alignment would help all the parties to better do their work. The distinction between transport modes and public and private transport are increasingly becoming blurred. That means the EU framework or some kind of standardization could help to solve this situation as well. And planning is an issue on its own. Planning is an issue on the level of the cities, at the national level, at the EU level. Of course, it's a self-responsibility of the member states, even according to the treaties. But still, the EU could provide sufficient support in a way, for example, of ITIs, like integrated territorial investments under the cohesion policy, or other forms of support for strategic urban planning, especially in urban mobility. What is also interesting the preliminary findings also show that very important is cross-border cooperation. Cross-border cooperation from the point of financing, but also from the point of functional links between the regions across the borders. It's quite interesting that breakfast on cross-border cooperation is taking part just next door. So maybe we should be going there and asking about some of the questions which we have in partnership on urban mobility in this respect. Our colleagues next door. How can the EU help? I'm finishing the last point. Lambert is showing that I shorten my speech. Just last 2 points. The first, how can the EU help? And the last one is the events which are to take place in near future. Of course, various tax legislation measures could help, for example, active modes of mobility. Cities very often mention that they need data and they need applications to interconnect various modes of transport, but they need open data and open applications. That means so that there is enough space for everybody to enter, and so that no monopoly is created. EU could provide for technical guidelines to active modes of transport, and EU could provide for indicators in financing instruments which would reflect on different modes of transport. And this would also contribute to providing better results on the ground. My last comment as regards the future, our next meeting will take part in Hamburg on the 14th of June. You might know that there is a conference, 11th Federal Congress on National Urban Development Policy. It is dedicated to 10 years of Leipzig Charter, so you might be interested in this event as well. And the Partnership on Urban Mobility will meet there. You might know that the Commission will organize at the end of the year a conference, a big conference, Cities Forum in Rotterdam. And also, because the Pact of Amsterdam is an intergovernmental act which has certain procedural aspects, the Commission is going to prepare a report on implementation of the partnerships towards the end of this year. If you are more interested in getting to know about partnership on urban mobility, please visit the website of Futurium, which is the website from the Commission dedicated to partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emma.